The country marks the 30th anniversary of South Africa's democratic dispensation. The EFF will be commemorating Freedom Day in Alexandra here in Gauteng. SABC News political reporter Natasha Phiri is covering that event for us live. Natasha, a very good morning to you. Thanks indeed for your time. So just take me back a little bit. There's a lot of electioneering that will also, I guess, political parties will use this day for as we celebrate a Freedom Day. If I'm not mistaken, when was it again when the EFF leader Julius Malema, I think, had put up the first poster? I think it was in Alexandra, and quite significant. I think they've been in Alexandra the whole week, if my eyes were serving me right, the whole week on the campaign trail. So not surprising that they'd want to be in Alexandra today. It's one of the areas that they want to try and convince people to vote for them.
Well, you're quite right, Griselda. You take it back to 2021, and this very township, just a street away, is where we saw EFF leader Julius Malema hang up his first election poster. And of course, they are back in the heart of Alexandra at the Alexandra Stadium on 12th Avenue to deliver, he's here to deliver his Freedom Day rally. And of course, he's expected to deliver that at 12 noon. But Griselda, like you've correctly cited, I mean, Alexandra Township is one area, one community that the EFF has sharply on their radar. I mean, if you know the challenges that people here face, I myself, you would know, I'm actually born and bred from Alexandra Township. People have been complaining about the lack of service delivery, Griselda, the issue of housing, the issue of water and sanitation, and of course, there are a lot of shack dwellers, within this place, Griselda. And today, as South Africans reflect on 30 years of democracy, we expect to actually see those reflections through the eyes of the EFF, but more importantly, through the eyes of the community of Alexandra Township. Yes, some have said that, listen, 30 years, a lot has changed for them. There is a good story to tell, while others say there is really not a good story to tell. People complain about load shedding, now water shedding, the lack of services as well. But it's not so for other people. But let's just actually hear from the Gauteng chairperson of the EFF, Mr. Nkululeko Dunga. Thank you so much for joining us on SABC News. Today is a very, important day. I mean, 30 years ago on this day, we saw those long snaking queues, people coming out in their numbers to vote. We're a month away from the elections. But I mean, you personally, what are your own reflections on this day? 30 years of democracy, surely it can't be all bad.
It's extremely bad. A lot of people in society are extremely disgruntled at the situation that we find ourselves in, because when we reflect on the 30 years, we acknowledge that nothing has changed. The more it evolves, the more things remain the same. We still, our communities, particularly in Alex, they're still confronted with what you have correctly categorized as a lack of housing, lack of employment opportunities, lack of access to education, lack of basic services such as the collecting of waste and sewage systems that are actually functioning. Roads are extremely dilapidated. It has been extremely regressive from even at a stance of where we come from to where we are now. And that's the condition generally of society across Gauteng. That's the general view of what we've witnessed, even outside of Gauteng in itself. So there's really nothing to glorify except to acknowledge and note that 30 years ago, there were long queues with a lot of people having hope that at least a new government would be constituted that would liberate particularly African people. And we're still sitting here and still standing here, still fighting for the very same things that they would have been promised 30 years ago.
On my right, I see elderly people that have actually come out here to the stadium. For those the elderly who have come out here and say, okay, why should we vote for the EFF? I mean, the EFF has never been in government. Yes, you've been in opposition, but why should you be the party of choice for them? For a person who maybe has never had an RDP house, but the current government of the day has provided them with the RDP house.
Yeah, it's refreshing as well to show a narrative that the EFF is not of young people only, but also the wisdom of the old who are here today. And this is a form of protest by themselves, who are saying that we've been You know, we've been in the space, we were once young, once promised things, and till today we are sitting with none of the deliverables. Majority of those who are here, they've submitted Form C applications. They still need housing. They still don't have access to quality health care because there is no infrastructure. What is the EFF promising? One of the main and most fundamental aspects of it is access to land, which is a necessity. I mean, you look around just here in Alex, you find 2-in-1 stands, you find homes on top of homes. That is a reality. Now, what do we need to do? We really need to look at also the reallocation of the people of Alex and the demolishing of property here so that we can build a proper infrastructure.
Just to cut you in on the relocation of the people of Alexandra, especially around Stwed, I mean, the issue that the people themselves don't want to move. Sometimes. How will you tackle that issue?
Yeah, there's a cultural and traditional aspect to it. But the move is on the basis that we need to correct. You know, we need to demolish so that we can really look at proper reblocking exercise. There's a collapsed infrastructure that is underneath that ought to be corrected. And you can't do that when people are still here. So it will be a temporary move of people so that we can really correct the infrastructure, build homes, build quality infrastructure in terms of health care services in Alex, so that when people come back, it's a properly habitation area that is correct in terms of the terminology of human settlement, meaning that there will be proper schooling and schooling infrastructure, there will be proper healthcare infrastructure, and there will also be proper bulk infrastructure as well as quality houses that must be built right here. That is what the EFF is promising. We are promising that in the immediate, I mean 40% of the South African population is unemployed. In the immediate, we are able to deliver 5 million jobs within the 5 years. And when we have failed to do that, we are only asking for 5 years. Once we fail, you are able to remove us in the next 5 years. We'll never come back and say, give us another opportunity. We'll self-correct after that.
In closing, Alexandra also has an issue of, there's just waste everywhere. Remember last year you started your cleanup campaigns, and I remember EFF leader Julius Malema had said that he wants to inculcate a culture amongst people, amongst townships, to actually clean up the areas themselves. I haven't been seeing those campaigns in Alexandra, or, what's going on with that campaign?
Yeah, the campaigns are continuous, the Andres Tatane cleanup campaign. So what it all...
I'm so sorry, I need to cut you back. President Cyril Ramaphosa has actually arrived at the Union building. I'm sorry, Dunga, you'll have to toss back to President Cyril Ramaphosa. They're at the official Freedom Day celebrations in Pretoria.